touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Oh, I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Oh, I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Oh, I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Oh, I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Oh, I ain't getting no sleep till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Oh, I ain't getting no sleep. Till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me. Till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Oh, I ain't getting no sleep. Till I touch that peak. Oh, I've been grinding all week. Ain't no stopping me. Ain't no stopping me.
And as the government reopens, the work for families to get back on track begins.
But some airport workers are getting a head start with a big bonus. NBC's Alice Barr has more from Washington.
As the federal government grinds back into gear after the longest ever shutdown, federal workers are getting back on the job.
Been difficult. I mean, it's a lot of uncertainty. People going to work, people not going to work, whether the government's open, whether the government's not open, whether flights are going to fly on time.
With back pay expected to roll out this weekend through early next week for furloughed and essential workers who haven't had a paycheck since,
oh God, I don't know, October, the beginning of October. I want to be able to pay my bills.
major airlines say they're ready to ramp their schedules back up to normal once the FAA lifts a 6% flight reduction that's continued cancellations to ease staffing shortages and ensure there are enough air traffic controllers on the job. As the Homeland Security Secretary handed out $10,000 bonuses to TSA workers who kept coming to work without pay.
For stepping up, taking on extra shifts, for showing up each and every day.
Federal contractors do not get back pay.
It just piles on.
And even those who will have to dig out from the past 6 weeks.
You've had things that have gone in the rears. You may have had to borrow against your credit cards.
Millions of Americans are also waiting for their full SNAP federal food assistance benefits.
Hopefully by the end of this week, most will receive it at the very latest on Monday.
The swell in demand at food pantries, a clear illustration of a shutdown's real-world consequences, with the clock ticking until government funding runs out again at the end of January. Preventing the next...
Yeah, I mean, that was rough on a lot of people. I mean, it totally could have been prevented, but, I mean, that's your U.S. government for you right now. You know, I'm not just blaming the Democrats on this as well. I mean, it's clear that these people need to get paid, especially the essential workers, and they didn't even want to do that. So, well, anyways, welcome to ROMA Nation. I'm AK, your favorite guy, and tonight the shutdown is over. But what did they pass that we know about? And also what we don't know about, all right? And then, of course, in our second segment, abortion hasn't been the topic of discussion for a while now, but I figured I would piss some feminists off by coming up with a solution that works for everyone, I guess. So sit back and relax as ROMA Nation starts now.
I'm hiding all you so lonely. I'm hiding all you so lonely.
What up, what up, what up? It's another rendition of ROMA Nation. We are joined by Scrapjaw. How you doing?
Good evening, sir. It is Friday, and the Department of Complaintancy, yes, that's not a typo. There are no numbers to take because we are dishing out the complaints. This is not the place where you issue complaints. It's the place where you come to get them, okay? And we're about to dish them out.
I wish you would have told me this earlier. I would have come up with a nice, cool name to put down here, but no.
I do it every week. Get used to it.
Tell me about it. But yeah, we got some really spicy stuff to talk about this week, especially with the CR bill. And then I kind of had this idea of a topic of discussion for ROMA Nation for a long time now, but I had no way of understanding how everything worked. It was very convoluted. And then also with artificial wombs being a topic of discussion for the last 10 years, something that I wanted to bring up. And then I thought, hey, why don't we just pin those two things together? I don't know how this is going to go tonight. I don't know if I'll have a show after this week after I'm done with that segment.
Is it post cancel culture?
Post cancel culture.
Are we testing that?
Yeah, we're testing the lines tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely are. So, but anyways, before we get started, please go to riseofmiddleamerica.com and check out our lineup of podcasts from history to news, pop culture, true crime. We have a show for all your needs. We also got a Discord where all the magic happens for ROMA Nation. You want to be a podcast host, producer, researcher, or writer for us, it's the only place where you can be a part of the fastest growing podcast community on the net. At the top of the page is our link to our socials. At the bottom is our merch site where you can get all the latest in Roma fashion. So please like, comment, and subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss a moment of the action. Now, without further ado, let's rant. All right. Welcome back to Scrap Rants. Because we already know this is going to happen.
We had to cut a whole section of the show out for this one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we had so much. This show would have been 4 or 5 hours long if we didn't cut out the stuff that we did.
Dude, this bill is so huge. Like, put perspective. In order for them to get to this point where we had the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, they had to skip 12 months of opportunities. 12 opportunities they had. Because they're supposed to do budget every month, just like your household does.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They call it all kinds of things. They call it a continuing resolution, a vehicle bill, of this, of that, all these things. We're going to get into all the stuff that they put into the HOV lane of funding this year. Okay.
Exactly. Before we get started, Funk Master General is at it again with 5 gifted Rise of Middle America memberships.
We can't be having this. He's out of control.
He is totally out of control. He must be stopped.
We got to cancel him.
Yeah, I heard Chuck Norris wears his underwear. That's hilarious. All right, thank you so much, Funk Master. I'm gonna start calling you Funk Master Flex. All right, let's go. All right, so how do you want to do this? Because we didn't really go over how we wanted to talk about this, but I think there's different sections, and I've got some that I'm gonna do, some that you're gonna do. So
I'm gonna rant off. I'm gonna leave you space to chime in, and then I'm gonna segue to the next piece, and we're gonna kind of rapid fire these ones. How's that? Just follow the lead. We're gonna flip the script, people. Normally AK's got the script and I got the rants, but I got so much rant I had to compact it down into containment zones in order to get the point across. But what we should do is we should start with what I like to call a quiet America First package. All right. There's no headlines, there's no press tour, just a lot of buried text here. The bill basically shuts the door on foreign adversaries in a way that, yeah, we've kind of seen this in the past, but not necessarily like this because it's all part of Trump's greater plan, right? So there's no more buying surveillance gear from Huawei, ZTE, or those usual suspects from China. And it's even more widespread than that because it's basically at any time the DoD says, we don't like this company and we believe that they're shoveling crap through into our open market system, they can basically shut it down at will. There's probably some caveats to that, but the DoD is getting a lot of extra freebies in there. So from there, farmland deals involving China, Russia, Iran, North Korea now trigger a review automatically. CFIUS is the body that deals with all that. It's, there's all kinds of different regulatory things that kick in. And the federal nutrition programs, well, they're blocked from buying Chinese poultry and seafood now.
Wow.
So, yes.
Who would have thought?
And that's not the only edible we're going to talk about tonight. So there's more. But wait, there's more. So,
geez.
These are real national security moves and not culture war fluff. But because they weren't part of political theater, almost nobody heard about them.
Wow. So basically, bye-bye Temu.
I mean, it goes along with all the tariff stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not just making it difficult. He's kind of Trump and the Republicans are in full economic warfare, piece by piece by piece by piece, whether it's China or cartels, he's taking them out. But so while we're on the subject of tightening things up, Congress didn't stop with just foreign threats. Domestic security and federal facility hardening. So on the home front, they patched up some security leaks we've known about for years. Agencies can no longer dodge telecom bans by releasing equipment from adversary link companies. So that loophole's closed. The Capitol Police now have expanded authority to shut down staff-led tours during elevated threat periods. What does that sound like?
My goodness. So essentially they're closing all the loopholes for
leaks, infiltrators.
But on top of that, it closes the loopholes for, like, remember we had the whole thing on Russiagate, and stuff like that, where you can have some third party come in and manufacture something where you don't really know what's behind that wall, but it just came out of nowhere. Like, it stops that stuff from happening as well.
A little bit, yeah. It's mainly to tighten up Capitol security. I mean, Capitol Police. This is a Capitol Police thing where they can now just go, look, there's no tours, there's nothing. Not that they probably couldn't have in the past, but we're seeing alongside Trump's other initiatives to clean up crime and give Capitol authorities more ability to, and the federalizing, he's giving them more tools to do things. Now, it could be good, could be bad. But, these staff-led tours, a 3-hour tour, right to solitary confinement, for like January 6th was, who knows what that could implicate in that kind of a scenario, Anyway, but there's more. But there's more.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Pentagon found some couch cushion money. DOD and Department of War reallocation. So the bill also reclaims unused Pentagon dollars, or what they're called unobligated balances.
Hold on, time out. Didn't they fail their audits? Isn't it the same Pentagon that just $6.2 billion just disappeared out of nowhere? What, did they just all of a sudden find that money?
Under the wreckage of a supposed airplane, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know if it's too late or too early for that one, but half of you are going to get that joke. Half of you are going to be really pissed off. But anyways, keep going.
Okay, so this pushes them straight in. So basically, the intent was to push them into operational readiness, because the whole narrative has been before that since Obama, our DOD, now Department of War, has been stripped of its ability to do things, and our military hasn't had the right resources to go here, there, and the other way. So that gives them the ability this is their claims is training hours, spare parts, deployment, stuff that keeps the machine running, emphasis on the machine, and for emergency needs. DoD now has an open lane to do quick shifts and authority to move money where they need to. So good, that could be good things, it could be bad things. So what did Fuckmaster say? Was in a terrible boating accident along with any guns I may or may not have owned. Fair enough. I was in a terrible bloating accident earlier with dinner. I'll tell you that. Anyway, so yeah.
The thing is, I just hope that they start clamping down on where some of this money goes. I know part of that is the CIA's fault, because the only way that they can really do anything is by, or at least if they wanted to do anything here, because they're not supposed to do anything here, they're going to have to reroute it through somewhere.
Well, the DoD is now in charge of the drug war instead of domestic stuff. Because they're in full swing going against the cartels right now. And one of the things when I was checking some of the numbers, what they've done is they've shut down a lot of research stuff or money that was allocated to just kind of like open-ended things. And they put it in like building boats and hardware and updating our military systems and all of that.
And our border security.
Security got a bunch too, a bunch of reallocations, and a lot of the red tape around the DoD and DHS and all of that got unleashed. And the left is not. They didn't talk about it. They were too busy complaining about SNAP. So anyway. But right, it was just a quiet shuffling of billions of dollars to where the military wants, the war machine can do what it wants with at this point. Now, but the DoD wasn't the only sector that got rearranged. The wellness world took a hit, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
So, the hemp industry, they're on a 1-year countdown to extinction. They've got less than 420 days to get the smoke out the room. That wasn't in the notes. I hit you with it. So anyway,
I got it.
So I saw a big long thing. It was a few minutes of Rand Paul going on about this, but basically nobody published anything or talked about it. And what it really does is it takes what was allowed in the 2018 Farm Bill with all of the Delta, there's like Delta 8, Delta 10, THCA. It's the low trace concentration amounts of psychoactive chemical in hemp that normally is used for like textiles and things. Well, that opened up an entire market. It's bazillions of dollars, like 70-80% of the hemp market that is now in edibles, and specifically in it's either in edibles or vapes. And they're not the highly regulated ones that come from plants grown specifically for the purpose of imbibing, right? Your traditional THC Delta 9 stuff. So it's like your gas station gummies, and a lot of people that I know that have tried both and been in both realms. A lot of people don't like those. They're actually not great, from what most people that I know say about them, because it takes so much chemical to extract, and the process is so gross. Allegedly they don't leave you feeling very good. So there's problems with them. Plus, the other problem that's coming in is that places like here in Ohio, we're trying, or rather our government is trying to control how they're packaged in a lot of places. Like, I guess Circle K sells these. And so kids walk in thinking they're Sour Patch Kids, which is not good, right?
Ooh, yeah. It's kind of the same thing with the vapes, right? With the flavors, with the different flavor type vapes that they got rid of.
I mean, at the very least, they could take the weed gummy fake stuff that's out there and like go the way of Joe Camel and the Marlboro Man and just say, hey, look, you got to use normal generic packaging and you can't sell it in places that are accessible, or it has to be behind counters and all of that stuff at the very least. But here's the problem. this is pretty much, it's not just that. It's every alternative cannabinoid product on the shelf that is in that realm. That includes your CBDs, which are non-psychoactive. And there's lotions out there. The Hemp's brand lotion's been around forever, you know. But meanwhile, Big Pharma gets a fast lane. This bill is injecting millions into modernizing over-the-counter drug approvals, faster reformulations, easier pathways for all that bureaucracy and accelerated updates. Now, on one hand, that's good because it usually takes 5, 10, 15 years for over-the-counters to get reapproval. Say, like the Tylenol thing, right? Or say there's some ingredient that they find is not safe, and then they've got to they make a new, they replace it with something else, but it's not approved. They change a molecule to make it this, but it's not approved, and they have to go through all these steps to catch up with developing. That's the balanced way to look at that, right? We want things to be able to be safer as we know more about the kinds of chemicals that are on the market.
Right.
The point is, these alternatives are constantly getting shut down and sidelined. We've had since 2018 a massive industry pop up, and now it's overnight got a year to go unless they do something in the meantime to retroactively undo what this bill has done. There's a massive market that's going to go away. I'll leave that to you guys to decide on what you believe about what should or shouldn't happen, but these are the facts. There's a massive industry that's on notice that quietly got shut down. Rand Paul tried, because a lot of Kentucky's economy has to do with the production of hemp. But there you go.
And we know people in Kentucky that utilize these, not just for recreation, but for actual pain mitigation, things like that. It's it's really interesting because it's like the cat's already out of the bag, right? It's kind of like abortion, which we've already talked about. And what I've always said, which is, the tools are already made. I'm not saying that it should be accessible all over the place and at any time. I'm just saying that, the stuff has already been made and people already know how to manufacture this stuff. So the only thing you're going to do now is if you get rid of that, it's going to become underground, and it's going to give people like the cartels another revenue stream.
And they've already got black markets because the highly regulated weed market that's out there, they're basically like walking into a secured facility. They are secured facilities. It's ridiculous, and it's good. They check you at the door. The ID, you can't even get in unless you're of the age that's allowed in your state, because obviously it's still a federally regulated thing. That's why the government they went and regulated this. So there's a big stink about this. They're closing that loophole. Is what it is. It's going to suck for a while for some people that have found jobs and markets in that, but I guarantee you the lobbying, the big tobacco is the one that I think either I'd have to look into it, because big tobacco invested heavily in the state level weed market. And this 2018 Farm Bill opened up another avenue that competed with them and pharma in some way. I say pharma in a loose way, but you have people out there that find some benefit in these things. And we haven't found the middle ground yet in our society of what's acceptable, what's not, what's legit science, what's the real studies. But talking about health and wellness and food, edibles, right? Let's move on to what happened to SNAP.
So here we go.
So you're about to get your SNAP benefits, but there might be less things you can buy next time you go to the store because the rules just got tighter. More traceability, stricter country of origin requirements, fewer administrative loopholes. So it's not a huge change, but no longer are you going to be able to get a lot of Chinese sourced, foreign sourced. Things are now starting to have to come from the United States. So there's some stringency there. There's some other things with that, but it's just a continuation of dialing it back, which is good. On one hand, you got the MAGA people, the super MAGA people that are like, no, you should just take it all away and end this welfare state, along with a lot of libertarians. I used to kind of be in that crowd too. But then you've got people that are like reasonable, saying, look, you can't just take this thing away overnight and not expect everything to crash. So I like the fact that some of these things are being dialed back. I don't like the fact that it still exists. It was supposed to be temporary in the first place, all of the welfare stuff, but here we are.
And you know what? And it's funny you mentioned that, because it's just one more piece of the puzzle showing how it reshapes supply chains, right? Because there's a lot of supply chains where majority of the money that they get is from these SNAP benefits. Right.
A lot of local stores, little convenience stores that charge exorbitant prices. It's EBT. It's EBT available. If it's nutritional, it's EBT.
Exactly.
It's SNAP, which is a very low bar when you consider that. Go to Amazon and just sort by SNAP approved or EBT, and you will be absolutely dumbfounded. But not everything can get solved by bills, but some things, big things, got punted like all the way down. Okay. So what's real funding versus temporary? Some parts of the bill are full funding. National security upgrades, DOD stuff, OTC modernization.
Right.
That stuff is all done. And there's also a bunch of stuff, other things that are in the agriculture side. We just don't have time to go into. Go look into it yourself. Healthcare subsidies deferred. Major budget fights, those were also delayed, and several other issues were just pushed to January. Like when they decided that they were going to hire everybody back, everyone that's furloughed, pay everything up. We did hear about that. They can't go and fire anybody until January. The media tried to bury some of that stuff, but the right wing also talked about a lot of that stuff too. But the big things that they should have been doing, this is where the real fighting is, and why you're only hearing about, oh, we didn't get what we want. We didn't get what we want blah, 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 in the news, is because the things I just talked about, we just went on about, all are things that just kind of keep things moving along. There's a little bit of quid pro quo. Some of these industries got their little scratch on the back, like the big pharma companies. Depending on how you look at that, it could be good, it could be bad. It's like a little bit of everything got shuffled around, and so my real problem with it is, in retrospect, after we complained about all these things and said, oh, some of this looks good, we should have talked about that back then, should have about this and that. Looks like they just rearranged deck chairs on the Titanic. Quid pro quos, special interest back scratching, while the country continues to decline like a shopping cart with one busted wheel drifting across the parking lot in a windstorm.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's pretty much where we're at right now.
No, completely understandable. And the thing is that when you looked at what they were complaining about with the healthcare, that's not that whole healthcare thing is not going to be solved in one CR.
Oh,
right.
No.
That's something that has to be done individually in its own bill, just like they did when they first introduced it. Right? That's how it has to be, because it's clear that there's a lot of problems with it. Right? And it actually I can't say that it made things worse than it did 20 years ago, but it definitely created a bunch of new problems.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this is the Obamacare is the thing where the guy who wrote it is on film, on audio at the very least, because I've heard the clip of him saying that they believe that we, the American people, are stupid. We're idiots. Obamacare was the bill that they had to pass in order to read. That's what they said. We have to pass it in order to read it. It was stacks. Plural stacks of papers, thousands upon thousands of sheets of paper. I remember when that thing got passed. I didn't know much about politics then, but I knew that was not cool. I was like, well, that's obviously not a green initiative right there. Somebody needs to apologize to Mother Nature for chopping her children down to print that out.
At least. No, but you're right, though. obviously there needs to be some kind of and not just with healthcare, but with a lot of different things. But we need to stop cramming all these things into one bill and then expecting the American people to just be okay with it. Because now we've got things like AI that can go in and you can say, hey, if this is a continuing resolution, you can go in and type in, okay, well, what's different about it this time? And please create an entire dialogue, to explain how it works and why it was changed, right? And then
how do you think I put together tonight's segment?
No, the first one you sent was like I was like, I ain't reading all that crap.
Right? I went through and had to, ask questions, hey, search this out, find this, that, and the
How
other.
much time we've got?
Look, we are at a half hour of showtime right now, and we just crammed all of that in. Why? Because I went and did a little bit extra work, scripted it out, complained into GPT, and said, now tighten it up. That's all I did. Here we are. And so that's what we can do. Anytime they post this stuff, it's on government website right here, congress.gov/bill 119th-congress/house-bill/5371/text. Okay? It's not hard to find these things. They exist.
Yeah, I got that. It's all up here.
All right, I'm posting a comment. There it is. If anyone wants it, it's in the chat on the YouTube. Go read it. And you can read all of this. You can read the summaries. You can read all 14 amendments that they managed to cram into this thing by not passing a single thing all year for 12 months. Okay, let's move on before I run out of breath.
All right.
Well,
let's go ahead and move on to our next segment. But first, a word from our sponsor. What's going on, folks? AK with Roma Nation here. This week is powered by Salty Roots Tallow, a brand that brings skincare back to the basics of nature and nourishment. At Salty Roots, their mission is to craft a premium American-made skincare products harnessing the nourishing power of grass-fed tallow and natural minerals for clean, holistic health. Now, they are committed to sourcing the finest, sustainably produced ingredients from U.S. farms and blending them with nature's mineral-rich treasures to create pure, effective skincare that promotes radiant skin and overall well-being. And trust me, you can feel that mission with every product. Their Dead Sea bath salts combine pure Dead Sea and Sierra sea salts with essential oils and herbs for a spa-grade mineral soak that melts away stress. They also have an activated charcoal bath soak that purifies, recharges, and cleans out impurities and leaves your skin silky smooth. In fact, I even have a mustache and beard oil made with eucalyptus mint to moisturize even my horrible dry skin, to the point where I don't feel any urge to scratch and irritate myself more than I need to. So if you're ready to treat your skin the way that nature intended, visit saltyrootstallow.com and use the promo code ROMA to get 10% off individual items to help the small businesses of Middle America thrive in this crazy economy. That's saltyrootstallow.com. Get back to your roots naturally. Yes, sir.
There it is.
Boom.
He got the beard balms. I've got the whipped tallow cream, or not to be confused with the commentary on my marriage. Anyway, this is organic jojoba oil and grass-fed tallow, Dead Sea salt, lemon and vanilla essential oils. And this is really good. It smells so good you want to eat it, but I would be afraid to get the essential oils, which are not food safe generally. This dude, I don't like the smell of anything that's out of any department store, whether it's the cleaning aisle or the seasonal stuff or personal care products. All those chemicals just hit me hard. This stuff, great. It's great.
Yeah, it's like men's caress.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Yep. All right, we got that over and done with. So this week is this versus that. So if you guys don't know what this versus that is, or at least this segment, we take two hot topics and we pin them against each other. So today is about artificial wombs.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
I can see it in your eyes. I'm trying to speak here. All right. So,
We needed that.
Anyways, so technologies that could gestate fetuses outside of a human body, right? So what are we asking here? What are these? How might they help? I don't know, society, or crucially, we pin them against abortion rights in America. Now, this took me about a year to come up with. So I hope this is either going to go really, really good, or you're not going to see us ever again. So sit back and relax. It's this versus that. All right, so
you can go with this. You can go with that. You can go with this. That's enough. Otherwise, we'll have YouTube coming down upon us.
Absolutely. All right, so let's start it off. What are artificial wombs and how do they work? All right, Wiki, what you got? All right, ectogenesis is the growth of an organism in an artificial environment outside of the body in which it would normally be found, such as the growth of an embryo or fetus outside the mother's body, or the growth of bacteria outside the body of a host. The term was coined by British scientist J.B.S. Halliday. That's funny. In 1924. All right, so the human embryos and fetuses. So ectogenesis is of human embryos and fetuses will require an artificial uterus. An artificial uterus would have to be supplied with nutrients and oxygen for some source of nurture, some source to nurture the fetus, as well as dispose of the waste material. There would likely be a need for an interface between such a supplier filling this function of a placenta as a replacement organ. An artificial uterus could be used to assist women with damaged, diseased, or removed uteri to allow the fetus to be conceived to term. It also has the potential to move the threshold of fetal viability to much earlier stage of pregnancy. This would have implications for the ongoing controversy regarding human reproductive rights. Ectogenesis could also be a means by which homosexual, impotent, disabled, and single men and women could have genetic offspring without the use of surrogacy pregnancy or a sperm donor, and allow women to have children without going through pregnancy cycles. That's a lot to unpack.
You ever see Alien Resurrection?
I have not.
All my sci-fi peeps in the audience, please sound off. But basically, these artificial wombs is what we used to call test tube babies. Basically, other than the fact, it's that kind of thing back in the 90s when that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, that joke they used to tell. It used to be, oh, he called you. Yeah.
Yeah, like they used to say that about people that had like the artificial insemination and all that kind of stuff, or when, yeah. So basically, it's the whole process of figuring out how far back in the development of a baby can you take that baby from the mother's womb and stick it in some kind of artificial environment that gives it not the same, but the similar or the relevant set of conditions in order to grow to a point where, okay, we can take that baby out and drain the tube and the placenta off and all of those things, and now the baby's a baby out in the world instead of floating in wherever, some kind of strange amniotic tube.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been tested with animal models, right? For the, I'll give you an example.
Our chat is spicy tonight.
Yeah, so I think here in the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, they developed a system that sustained premature lambs in a fluid bag with an umbilical cord and connection to an external oxygenation. I'm guessing it's the same way that they do with your kidneys.
People like dialysis?
It's almost like dialysis, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird thing because the placenta does a lot of different things. You're connected umbilical cord. That's where your belly button is. For those of you that maybe forgot why that was there, but anyway, you basically are, because you have lungs and you're able to breathe. We breathe air now, but when you're in the womb, in the placenta, you're in an amniotic fluid, and that stuff it's not in your lungs at all. It's like it doesn't affect any of that. You're not breathing. You don't have that reflex to do it, because you're being given oxygenation through the blood supply from your mom. And that sac, the amniotic fluid, is all oxygenated. It's got all the nutrients in it. You're perfectly protected in there. So figuring out how to get those nutrients to permeate through that placenta and through that pipeline, which is the natural pipeline for it, is a huge, huge, huge barrier to getting this kind of thing to work, especially with humans, because it's not just nutrients, it's hormones as well. They're at different stages of the development cycle. There's a lot that goes into the gestation period of a human, let alone, even animals there are,
Absolutely. But I mean, as part of the animal kingdom, most of us all are born the same way, right?
Mammals.
Yeah, mammals are all born the same way. Even the mammals that are in the water are born the same way.
There's only certain exceptions, like echidnas. They're the only mammal that lays eggs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now there hasn't been human trials that have been done yet. I'm pretty sure that's right around the corner. I wouldn't be surprised if starting next year they're going to start testing some of this stuff out. But then there's the legal aspect of this, which we're going to get into. But this changes a lot of things because it creates a completely different avenue for so many different reasons. So let's go ahead and get into that. So this is from Duke University. Extending hope, artificial wombs for safer neonatal development. Look at that smile. All right, so for expectant mothers, is going into labor can be terrifying. I think I can blow this up a little bit more. There we go. Premature babies at an increased risk for serious health problems. The earlier a baby is born, the higher risk of health challenges they have, including digestive issues, a weakened immune system, and heart problems, lung injuries, among others. Well, yeah, because they're not fully developed, right? And then once they come out, they don't have that supply of blood and nutrients and stuff going into them, like you said, through the umbilical cord that goes in your belly button. So a lot of those things don't get developed. It's kind of like when you do have a full-term child, they still need nutrients. It's just they don't need as much at that time.
Yeah. And the earliest premature baby born was last year in July. 21 weeks. That's 147 days. That's 208. He was 285 grams, about 10 ounces. Okay, 10 ounces is about, a beer can. All right. That's how tiny that baby was. That could survive. 21 weeks. Some states, since we're talking about abortion, allow killing that baby.
They do. Yeah. And, this is, I promise you, we're going to get into that specific line.
I just want to put it out there that's when we're talking about artificial wombs and the ability to, at different stages of gestation, that's how early you can give birth and the babies can survive now. Not likely, but possible now. It's been proven.
Right. So the artificial womb model, which they've coined extend for extraterrene environmental wow, I failed. Extrauterine environment for neonatal development keeps a growing fetus in an anatomic-like fluid until they reach late preterm gestational age. The theory is, says Jennifer L. Cohen, doctor, assistant professor, pediatrics, leading author, once the premature lungs meet air, damage is done in that first breath.
That's what I was saying. Yeah, that amniotic fluid, you have to stay in that in order to stay in that state. But if that placenta breaks, that the water breaks, that baby comes out, it's breathing air. Now they're in the open.
Exactly. That leads to like bacteria and stuff like that, infections. With the extend model, doctors perform a C-section type surgery, which the baby is never exposed to air and is instead continuing to breathe in the fluid until they can be placed in the artificial womb, which is a fluid-filled bag. The team use extend with an animal model to look at transcriptomic
Transcriptomic.
yeah, transcriptomic and RNA sequencing analysis data to see how brain tissue from the subjects in the extend model compared to preterm and late term subjects, which means unfortunately some of them didn't make it, which is
well, in animal models they kill them all.
Yeah,
they euthanize them to study them.
Yeah, I mean, there's no other way to do it. Like,
I mean, they can do like some kind of brain scan, but that's brain tissue. They're cutting them open. They're dead.
Yeah. Let's see. This is the first time RNA sequencing was used in the extend model to see if there was RNA and gene expression changes occurring as a result of the artificial womb. The data is critical to ensure extend would not cause any additional harm to the neurodevelopmental outcomes of the preterm baby. Right.
You sure about that?
Right.
Is that really what they're trying to do with the DNA tracking of that? Are they sure about that?
Yes. So, in hindsight,
I could get tinfoil real quick on that one.
Absolutely. So, in hindsight, so artificial wombs equals X uterine gestation system, I guess, and it's designed to replicate the womb or the placenta, the uterus functions, right?
Basically, okay. Imagine it like this. Imagine it like this. You've got. You ever try to fill a balloon that's not a water balloon? Or have a water balloon that's like the ones that are like cheaply made and they break just, you're there and you overfill them and you have to try to get them from one place to the next and get them to the next person, without breaking it. That's what they're trying to do. Now, the placentas are and those amniotic fluid sacs are pretty tough in their own way. But when you go to remove it from the place it's supposed to be and put it somewhere else, that's why she's saying, hey, once they breathe air, when they pull them out via C-section, it's like trying to get a melon size, depending on how big they are, a water balloon somewhere else without breaking it. Exactly. Just normally a C-section, they cut it all the way open and they drain it out and they yoink them.
Yeet. Yeah, and then key function components: amniotic tank fluid, artificial oxygenated placenta, and then nutrient and waste management. Now that's important. This is key because it filters in and out through. I think because they don't breathe, but they do have the amniotic fluid that goes through their lungs and then filters through, kind of the same way it does when you breathe air. Right?
Yes, it's like a lung. It's like it does a lot of the same vital organ stuff that the mother's body does. That placenta does as well to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been proposed for fetuses to be an artificial womb and viability threshold shift. So the viability, that's the most important part. And that whole filter system is going to be the most important key factor because you can go 6-7 months, but then at 7 months, if something happens there, I mean, we don't know what the affected outcomes are going to be.
Yeah, it's starting to sound a lot like my experience with raising fish and filtration. Fish and many aquatic organisms, and to some degree, land-based organisms, we don't just breathe oxygen, but there's other things that we breathe in that do end up in our lungs and our bloodstream. It's not completely 100% oxygen, but aquatic animals, which to some degree, as infants, as a fetus growing in the womb, we are technically some kind of in an aquatic type of state. And what they're getting at here is that the nutrients are in that amniotic fluid. They're in that womb area. They permeate through. As your body in the womb is using up nutrients, it's converting oxygen to CO2, and it has to get rid of it. There's not just the in valves for the bloodstream to go, but there's also the out valves for the blood to go back the other way to get rid of those things. So, think of it like red lines and blue lines. The red lines take oxygen to places. The blue lines bring the CO2 filled blood and the blood with all of the bad stuff in it that he's filtered out back out. So these are those processes that our bodies do really well, but do differently in a fetal gestation period.
Right. So with all that being said, I know that's a lot of information, so we're trying to like piece it all together. Like
it's hard. Raising babies is hard.
That's funny. So how do artificial wombs help society? Right now, it's my turn to rant because this is the part that I'm trying to make the connection. So they can significantly improve outcomes for extremely premature infants. And they provide more of like a womb-like environment that it's like an ICU within an ICU. So to speak. Yeah, exactly. And they reduce maternal risks that are associated with that, with childbirth and whatnot. Because a lot of people are now saying, oh, even with all the technology now, we have worse issues now than we did, 50 years ago. We didn't have this technology, but I digress. So infertility, same-sex couples, and then trans persons, etc. So is this a shift in the like gender parenthood dynamics? If gestation is decoupled from someone's body, then this could be seen as like tyranny of reproductive biology in a way.
Oh, you're talking like, making somebody be preggers or what? How are you saying tyranny of biological reproduction? Versus because wouldn't that be liberating in some ways just to play the card there? Hey, I can do this. And
I honestly think there's going to be like 28 different takes on this.
Or will our future children be like my lava lamp in the corner for 9 months? And that way, Instagram moms and whatever can be like, look at my high-tech baby. Look at my baby. It's so nice. We're just waiting to see which gender it turns out to be. Oh wait, I'll just turn the temperature up or down because that's how genetics work to some degree. Is that what it's gonna be? Are we just gonna? That would be just the most vain thing in the world. I'm sorry, that was my rant.
That's funny. Yeah. So you've got that dynamic. Then of course you've got the public health standpoint. So there's a possibility that there'd be lower mortality from prematurity, clearer control over gestation conditions, and less exposure to like the toxins and infections, or just flat out stupidity like doing drugs and smoking and drinking.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Yeah, right. So that moves us to our next question, which is if artificial wombs protect women against birth or pregnancy complications, can they be used as incubators for people who want to get abortions? Now, let me explain. And this is where it comes together. Now, this is a junction, all right? Because in the abortion conversation, because if artificial wombs can remove the pregnancy burden, could someone choose to transfer a fetus into an artificial womb instead of terminating the pregnancy? In other words, abortion by relocation?
I don't think you call it necessarily abortion at that point. It's definitely we're assuming the taking of the whole baby out in some way, shape, or form and placing it somewhere else. at what point is that even allowed to happen, or can it happen? I mean, 25% of all pregnancies are statistically lost, and the mothers don't even know, miscarrying, right? So there's some lack of viability already in the natural process of things. And so that comes to the question of, like, it's not abortion at that point. It's something else. It's now a technological surrogacy, you know? But that woman's still got to go through a surgical procedure to have that baby taken up and out and put. And many times women have complications from a C-section, not just, and abortions that aren't C-section style. Where they go in through the front door, right? There's still a non-zero. It's a good considerable number of people that have problems post procedure when has to do with pregnancies. Even people who want to keep their babies and have miscarriages, sometimes there has to be surgical procedures done to go in, do things. It's not pretty when things go wrong. And so is it? I mean, I'm just throwing those things out there.
Yeah.
The conversation. Those are all real things that to think about when we're saying, well, let's add one more surgical procedure in the mix. Is it wise even to think of it that way, or to even think to do one more thing like that when so many complications can happen?
Well, not only that, but creating complications from a perfectly healthy pregnancy that could create future issues in future pregnancies with somebody that wouldn't have had those issues in the first place if they did it. So I mean that's a lot of word vomit, but I mean it's a reality, right? And because uterus is a very strong and resilient muscle in a woman's body, and it's there's you don't it's made to do one function, but when you do something else to it that's not naturally capable of doing, it could cause other issues that wouldn't have been there in the first place. That's what I was saying.
Right. Yeah. And I get it. Like I don't know if you're going to open up another spot for this, but the adoption thing, right? If we're going to talk about that in context to this, don't want to kill it. Don't want to have it, give it up, So.
Yeah. So yeah. And I think this is a funny subject because you and I actually differ on like abortion and stuff. This is the one thing I think we're the furthest apart on.
Probably.
Yeah, because
but not without understanding.
Right. And I think a lot of that has to do with where we come from and different things that we've seen that kind of shapes our perspective on it. Now, in no way do either one of us think that it should be viable all the way up till term. Absolutely not. Like neither one of us think that. And in fact,
I'm probably the more extreme on the other end. No term is term. No terms. It's like negotiating with terrorists. There's no terms. There's no.
Now you're trying to get me in trouble. No,
just put the comments and opinions of the Rantmeister General do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the greater network at ROMA Nation.
Not the Rantmeister General, but Funkmaster General gifted 5 new Rise of Middle America membership. You like how I slid that in there? Yeah. So,
is that what he said? That's what he said. He did say it.
That's what he said. Thank you very much, Funkmaster General. He is the man, the myth, the legend. Chuck Norris says he's got 2 pairs of your underwear now. Let's go.
Here we go. 2 dudes talking about having babies. What do you mean? What do you mean, you people?
What do you mean, you? I mean, what do you mean, you people?
Well, 2 guys who have seen both of their children enter the world. Okay, put it that way.
Twice. The whole thing. We watched all of it from beginning to end. All right, because we're men. We're men in tights. All right. So
tights.
So for you, it's just zero. For me, I do agree that there are certain situations, like obviously I would not expect a 5-year-old to take.
Well, see, I would agree with you even there.
That not that it I mean, that's happened maybe like 20 times in all of history. But
yeah, and they made a big deal out of that 11-year-old, that 10 or 11-year-old girl from Ohio.
Mhm.
That
that was for a different reason though, because they hid it.
Well, our attorney general even said, look, because they took her, for those that don't know, this was a girl that had been abused by family members, and they went out of state to Indiana to do an abortion under the radar. It was a healthcare professional that did not log it, did not nothing. What's important about that is there's mandatory reporting that must be done. And why that's important is because the father of the unborn that was aborted was an illegal immigrant. So this story gets super spicy, but I won't go all into it.
Yeah.
But the end thing of it was this. Even Dave Yost of the Ohio AG said, look, there's exceptions for certain cases where there's a medical issue. If the girl's too young and she's been abused, there's hardly any reason to force her to carry that, because she and the baby could die because her body's so small.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as I would like to say zero, that's one of those things where it rides the line of medical necessity with a young child that is technically, capable, obviously, of being pregnant, but at the same time, it's physically, she's just not sized right for it and could have massive complications. So that's someplace where we do overlap in that small little Venn diagram of things.
Exactly. Yeah. And the other reason is because, like we were talking about before, medical marijuana, it's already been made. Right. So once you let the cat out of the bag, and once you develop all these procedures, once you take that away, it goes underground. So it's like, how do you?
I think to some degree, yeah. I mean, there's always going to be something underground, but I don't buy the coat hangers and back alleys.
Yeah. No.
I mean, there's medical equipment that exists on the market, right? And the darkest parts of the abortion industry, which is what it is. It's a full industry. It makes money from all kinds of sources, and not just from, it's public funding, so it can help women get mammograms. There's plenty of places you can get mammograms that are not Planned Parenthood, but there's been documented cases where they sell the remnants of these babies for research and stuff. And it's James O'Keefe, and even before him, there were other organizations that went undercover into universities and things that are connected to Planned Parenthood. There's a dark underside to this, to just, yeah, come on in. We'll cut it out, and there's a lot of that. So those are the things that are the big concerns on my end of that, aside from the moral stance of be responsible with your body. Yeah, it's your body, it's your right, but now there's another body involved, right? So that's where it gets weird for me, where I go, it shouldn't be. But I get what you're saying. Like, there's a obvious market for this thing, just like the drug industry, drugs everywhere all the time. It's the meme, drugs everywhere. It's
more.
It just is, but that doesn't mean we don't put eyeballs on it and restrictions on things and understand it properly. The weed industry, recreational marijuana is all over the place. It's kind of ridiculous. I think it's too far. I think it should stay in the medical side, just like abortion. You shouldn't be elective because of the recreational things that you've done. It should be a necessity. And that's the definition that always gets buried in the discussion, is what do people like me who are abolitionists for abortion believe is necessity, right? It's like, it's a very small list of things that women deal with all through the centuries that eventually we figured out how to save babies from. And now we're in a whole 60 million babies deep of abortions, where the majority of them are elective by Planned Parenthood standards and stats.
Exactly.
So that's the issue I have. You know, and the messaging to women should be, let's help you, versus the beating them down like the fundamentalist, moralist portion of our country was for such a long time. They never reached out. And now there's massive amount of support, growing support for women, that it's like, don't kill it. We'll give you support. We'll help you be a mom, or parents that are now, or a couple that are now pregnant and now they don't know what to do. There's resources out there, you know, for that. There's alternatives, whereas the left says, hey, there's you shouldn't have to, don't even worry about alternatives. We'll just fix it for you. It's like, is that a fix? You know, that's where we kind of like those sentiments, like you and I have an understanding on.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah. And it also raises practical issues. But we're talking about the artificial womb and abortion.
Right. And so where does that fit in there then?
Yeah, exactly.
Does that grant more responsibility, or does it give those of us who want to adopt those babies a better opportunity to adopt or save those babies?
Right. Because it serves as a third option in the abortion debate, right? Because not to carry the child, not kill the child, but instead transfer the child to an artificial gestation system, right? And then it raises questions about the pregnant person's bodily autonomy, all right, which a lot of people talk about. Autonomy, like it's inside of my body, therefore it's mine, therefore I can make that decision. But here's the difference, though. Are you allowed to perform the abortion yourself?
Mm-mm.
No, you can't.
Nope, it's illegal.
Exactly. Why is it illegal?
Because I forget the exact standard for it and what usually women get charged with, but I know one of the charges they always get nailed with when they try to hide it and get caught is I think it's like abuse of a corpse, generally, and neglect, because the baby's now born. When you do a DIY abortion, is a birth, and now it's murder.
Exactly. And on top of that, it's the same reason why if a man,
double homicide.
It's a double homicide.
Killing a woman who's pregnant.
And it's still inside.
While it's still inside. Yep.
So if that's the case while it's still inside, then at minimum, you have to be charged with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So at least we'll get into that a little bit further down. Trust me, because when we end this show, I'm going to go off on a rant that I've never gone off on before, and it's going to be epic. It's either going to go really good or really bad. So I guess we're going to find out. All right. So bodily autonomy, third option outside of abortion. It could challenge the viability threshold argument in the abortion policy. If a fetus can be transferred and survive earlier, the legal concept of viability changes, right? Because there's always that line of like, when is it viable, or when something is born? Is it born when it crosses through an invisible line? Like, it answers a lot of those questions, right? But it also raises practical issues like, when is the transfer possible? At what stage of pregnancy? What are the risks of the fetus to the future development? The technology is not proven yet. We don't have laws for it yet. We're going to have laws. In order to do that, they have to run all those tests where, unfortunately, they kill all those animals. But, like, it's something that's necessary, right, in order to be able to figure out what that answer is, because you'd rather do it with animals than you would with actual human beings. But then it, does that cross the line? But here's the thing. We eat animals every day, or most of us do. And how do you think we get that food?
I'm a lifetime PETA member. People eating tasty animals.
Bingo! All right. So next question. What is the argument that taking a viable fetus and adding them to artificial wombs to wait for a foster parent a moral argument? Would this be a win-win for both sides?
Because the argument for, well, if it's the pro-life group, which I'm not, I'm pro-abolition, right? Pro-life group might actually get on board with that because it's not a full stop, right?
Right.
It's a half measure. It's a Band-Aid. It's a great tool. I believe that an artificial womb would be a great tool for when you're so far early, but there is a baby that it's there. Something tragic happens to the mother, and they have moments to extract that baby and put it in an artificial womb. Right? That'd be an amazing piece of technology if, by some chance, if it was your wife or my wife or any of our buddies' wives that ends up pregnant with another baby and something happens in those first few months where it's so tiny and it's just a little guy or girl. Sorry, you non-binary people, but that's what they are. One of the two. But anyway, when it's that would be amazing to have that technology. But with that technology, people will use it for what you're saying. They will say, well, let's make an avenue. But you know what? Those won't. Do you think average run-of-the-mill, Jane Doe off the street wanting an abortion is going to walk into Planned Parenthood and go walk up to a test tube and plop, drop, and roll? Is that going to happen?
I know you were going to come up with some phrase.
Like, do you think it's just going to be a thing that they allow to be paid for?
That's gonna be an inside joke. If I'm sorry, if you're not watching this episode, I'm going to use that at some point in the future, and I'm going to make Scrap break.
Do you really think that that's going to happen though for people that don't have, is it going to end up being another thing tacked into the insurance industry?
Yes. How did you know that was going to be my next question?
I know things.
You know things, right? Because what are the implications of insurance coverage, non-coverage? Now, let's say in a perfect world everything works, right? You get the artificial womb, you just plop, drop, and roll, and boom, everything is perfect. The baby is born a couple months later, and then it's given off to, its foster family. Right. If everything works out the way it's supposed to, do insurance companies say, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and cover this, because then it works both sides for them as well.
Funkmaster General says celebrities will use it to preserve their figures. That's exactly what I was getting at. This will be a designer, just absolute, the bougiest way to have children. And if they get it good enough, women won't even get pregnant. They'll just be if they can figure out how to test tube those babies from the start, they will do it.
I wouldn't even be surprised if they're already doing it. We don't know it yet.
Oh, I'm sure there's some black site project happening somewhere.
I thought you were going to say some black woman. It's like, oh my God, no. There it is. That's it. We're done.
You're the one who thought it. You're the one who thought it.
It's over, guys. We broke the internet.
Start calling you Uncle AK.
Uncle AK. With the AKs. Let's go. All right. So,
Draco.
With the Draco. Come on, I'm not some Harry Potter character. Potter. No, so
you're welcome, Marty Har.
So the artificial womb gestation becomes an alternative, right? In carrying pregnancies, or becomes that like next avenue. Will they treat it like standard maternity care, or will it be classified as like an experimental thing? Right.
Right.
Because coverage decisions are going to matter at this point.
Well, yeah, coverage is one of those things. That is big, big. Like the insurance companies are out there trying to figure out how they can not cover you for all kinds of stuff. This would end up being. I don't see insurance companies covering this under general this, that, and the other. If it happens to get to a place with human trials where they can save, I pulled that up. If they can save babies
or 900 Kanye's,
if they can save babies from early gestation tragedy with this technology, I think those are the things where, like, we already have NICUs and stuff and all these incubators and stuff. Those things are all covered under. There's no plan on this earth that for a woman that doesn't cover that kind of stuff, or an insurance company that doesn't have it covered under some kind of plan. Put it that way.
Right.
You know, if it gets to the point where it's going to be covered as some kind of like abortive alternative, it sits in such a weird place where it's not abortion, it's not your standard maternity care. I think it sits in limbo for a while, honestly. That's what I think. But the implication's right. Like, insurance, what's insurance going to do about this?
Yeah, right. Because, and then you have the factor of who has insurance, who doesn't. Private pay, while others are left with traditional pregnancy or abortion, could exacerbate the inequality,
Right.
in reproductive health. Insurance companies can refuse also to cover the artificial womb transfer instead of the abortion, because the abortion is just, they're forced into one direction because certain companies don't have to cover that.
Right. I mean, as long as they can check the box and say, we're providing you coverage, say you're protected, say you're protected and you're in a state where, like, unfortunately, Ohio has the most wide open constitutional amendment that's been passed in a long time when it comes to reproductive rights, that protects this kind of stuff. Who's to say that somebody doesn't file a lawsuit here and say, well, if you're doing business in Ohio, you have to cover this under a reproductive rights, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that. That's not unheard of for, people going, hey, but my rights,
Yeah.
But what the point I was getting to is, as long as there's an opportunity for somebody to, okay, if you want to be pregnant, you can be pregnant, you can have your baby. If you don't want to be pregnant, you can end up not being pregnant by some medical procedure. So as long as there's a medical procedure that facilitates that, abortion being the bottom line, post conception, I don't think insurance companies are going to have to be forced into this artificial womb thing. I think where they will cover it, though, is if there's some major tragedy thing where it actually works in that moment. Hey, we could save this baby. We're going to do it.
Right.
I could totally see Ohio State, their medical, they saved my life. Not them, but they saved my dad when he had pancreatic cancer, right? They caught early. They went in, they cut all the stuff out. Great. They have, top tier medical people there. So something like an OSU at the James, which is where Vivek Ramaswamy's wife, works.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. I can see these being used in those kind of places where it's university studies.
So two things. One, does Vivek Ramaswamy's wife have security guards that are there?
Dude, hospitals are probably one of the most secure places you'll ever walk through, especially those facilities. You don't badge in and out, with just, a basic card.
Oh, I know. I had a couple of those last year, and I was stuck outside with the masses. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, I wasn't kidding about that, but I'm part of the masses too. All right, guys, come on, don't yell at me now. All right, the second thing is, what is the verbiage legally, especially when we already can't get this healthcare thing already situated, but
right.
Now they have to decide between what's medically necessary and what's elective. Different classifications. That could impact the coverages, the cost sharing. About cost sharing, liability, etc. Right? So we don't know what the cost of this is going to be. So therefore, we're not exactly sure. One, does it work? Number two, how much does it cost to actually do this for X amount of time? Because at first it's probably going to be in some box that nobody can touch. And it's like, you cannot go in there unless it's this, or that. It's the same thing when someone, when a woman goes in and puts their eggs and freezes their eggs. I'm pretty sure it's in an area in which nobody's allowed to go into without specific clearances.
No. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
right. So meaning the access may be limited to niche or research settings, and then it raises the issue of fairness, because once again, not everybody's going to have access to that. But I have a solution to that. If it does work, and in a perfect world, it's viable. If for some reason you are under a certain income threshold and you cannot do that, and you need to, for whatever reason, you need to not have this thing inside of your body, this child, what do? You offer them money. I know this sounds like mafioso almost, but
Go on.
But you offer them money for that particular procedure, kind of like when you're giving blood. Now, this is obviously very different, and this is an extreme stretch. All right, I'm not saying that this is going to work.
Just lay it out. Just lay it out, and it'll be spicy, and then we'll roast it. How's that?
Oh, absolutely. But for people that can't, what you do is you say, all right, we will take the viable fetus, but we get to decide what happens afterwards. We get to not only decide how it's taken out, but we get to decide what happens afterwards.
Who's we? Who are they?
Yeah, that's the problem. Which means that whoever is doing this procedure is going to have to be heavily regulated.
Look, yeah. It's like The Giver. It's the precursor to The Giver. All right. If anybody, please, within the sound of my voice, if you've read the book, it is so good. And the movie wasn't bad. I liked the movie. But The Giver was this dystopian world before, buy the cake before it's baked. That's called a box mix. Just add eggs.
It's called Jiffy.
Just add eggs and cream. Okay? But The Giver was like this dystopian, gray, women were just birthers. This book was written before people were calling women birthers and birth people or whatever, birthing people. They're selected for giving birth. Your babies are raised and assigned to families. They don't actually raise their own kids. The whole world's gray. There's no color to anything. All kinds of they stripped the world of all of its pleasures and pleasantries and made everything sterile. And there's one guy that has all of the knowledge of history and has the ability to see color and knows what the world was like before and also outside of, yeah. But this reminds me a lot. This conversation had just went straight into The Giver territory where it's like, well, maybe if women are, they need money, we'll just buy the babies before they're born and just raise them. That's a whole other level of human trafficking I've never thought of. That's dark, bro. It solves the population decline crisis. Hey, government, just buy your babies. That's the precursor to the Spartan program.
Really, Hardy?
Halo. We're just gonna buy the babies and we'll turn them into war machines.
What am I doing? What's happening here? Oh man, this is good. This episode, I swear, if I wake up tomorrow and there's like 10 million
Look,
views, we're in trouble.
I'm trying to make light of a macabre subject and keep the middle, but I really just want to give this whole idea the middle finger for what I know people are going to use it for.
Absolutely. So it's time for everybody to give me the middle finger because it's time for my final thoughts. Are you ready? Because I'm about to piss off a lot
No, I'm not.
of people.
Struggling over here.
All right. Number one, it kills the debate on morality because both sides win. They don't have to birth a child, and someone else who wants a child can get one. All right. Number two, if insurances cover this, then there is no need to terminate a living organism or person or baby. Unborn. Fine. I will give you that. Unborn fetus, zygote, whatever.
Don't murder the babies.
Okay. If you don't have insurance, which was my point, then a company can pay you for your fertilized egg. Now, here's the thing. You can't keep coming in there every 6 weeks and being like, oh, by the way, I've got, no, it's going to be limited, but then you're going to have to sign some stuff. Right. Now, I know this seems like it's going into kind of like a Big Brother territory, but, accountability has to be met somewhere. There has to be some form of accountability, right? But if they decide that they don't want to give that viable embryo or fetus or whatnot up for adoption, but just want to terminate, then it was never about whether the child was born in a good place. It's just about premeditated murder. Because now, because there's a third option, you're it's kind of like it forces you to define a clear line of birth or a clear line of conception. It forces you to define those lines, right? Because again, we talked about how there's a reason why you can't perform an abortion yourself. It's because of it's a moral standard, right? But at the same time, why do you think it's okay for someone else to do it for you? It's to skirt accountability. Oh, I have this license that says that I can do it, so therefore you don't have to get in trouble yourself. I'll do it.
I don't like it. I'm holding my breath.
Yes. I'll let you finish here in a second. I got 3 more points. All right. So the main mission of abortion, it was to rid the growing unborn child from your body. When you sign up for one, you also have to remember that there isn't a checkbox that asks you how you want it done. Right? When you go in, you fill out the paperwork, for whatever reason, and then you go in and get the procedure done. But it doesn't necessarily say inside of that framework of paperwork if whether you want to decide how it's done. Right? The main thing is that you just don't want to be pregnant and you do not want to birth that child. So why does it matter what happens afterwards? Two more. Now we're going to go into a really deep, dark hole.
Don't do this to me.
They talk a lot about grape, right? And about how Oh, well, if you want to even go back even a centimeter, that means that you want to get rid of it all. Right? But if you expect accountability from someone who does something very immoral to you, you also need to accept accountability when you're reckless with your sexual behavior, when there's abstinence, 41 forms of birth control, morning after pill, condoms, adoption, all this other stuff that have been handed to you on a silver platter. Scrap, I got one more. Actually, you know what? I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to do my last point before we leave.
Oh, do it. No, do it.
No, I have to because
Already?
this is really good. Go.
Where's dad in the whole equation of who's got rights for what? Where's dad? That's all I want to know. Because men are not in this conversation, though two men are having it right now.
It's why we are. Two dads are having this conversation.
Yes, and girl dads to that effect as well, right? Like we have older boys and younger daughters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm over here thinking like we have engineered, like you said, silver platters. We have engineered so many options for people to not bring other lives into this world that end up inevitably being killed. And yet they still say, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to throw it around wherever I want it. And it's like, stop. The rights in this conversation never gets to responsibility. If you don't want baby and accountability for it. There is no accountability for bringing lives into this world until they've got a social security number. If my wife and I walked out of this house today and disappeared down the road, we took Route 66 and said, we're not coming home. Somebody's going to find us. A U.S. Marshal will find us somewhere in this country, bring us back to Ohio for federal charges and abandonment. Okay? I don't know how 60 million babies plus, we're not even talking about the potential other people who could have been birthed by those people who were unalived in the gestation process. But here we are. And we're still talking about more ways to solve a problem that we've always had the solution for. There's mine.
Last point. And this is the one that's going to tear this all the way down, that I promise you, if somebody finds this clip, which they will, it will go to court. In what they consider an unlikely scenario that a woman does an unfavorable sexual thing to a man that did not ask for it, and she gets pregnant, does that man have the right to decide if she gets an abortion? End game.
I appreciate the rhetorical question because that makes the entire thing implode on itself. The entire game implodes on itself at that point because the double standard is completely exposed. We don't have to even answer that question because it answers so much else, and it's just like I said before, we have so many opportunities to do the right thing, yet people continue because of what Funk Master says. Human nature is to be awful and then try to engineer our way and backdoor ourselves out of and loophole through getting what we want when we want it and not having to pay the price for our missteps. And here we are as a society paying for it. And yeah, that these artificial womb things, I doubt anybody at the low end is going to even benefit unless they're, like you said, like we just said, participating in some kind of government university study, or somebody with a fat check comes along and says, I'll buy that baby.
In a dark alleyway with a coat hanger.
Plop, drop, and roll.
That's this versus that. Are we still here? I still see 4 green check marks, so I'm guessing like we survived the episode.
Well, Rumble don't care about nothing. X only counts the number of people that come across our feed, and YouTube generally catches up with us within 24 hours. So,
well, before this episode gets completely demolished, please go to risetomiddleamerica.com and support your hosts, support all the shows that we've got here. The last couple of weeks we've been off. We've had some, people needed some time off. You guys got to remember, like, we don't really get paid to do this. We're doing this out of the kindness of our heart, and I would really, really, really like to start paying people. So, if you really like our content, if you really truly believe this is Middle America at its finest, please go to riseofmiddleamerica.com, and you can go to any one of our socials up here at the top. All right, and you can subscribe to any one of ours. All right, we're keeping it at the low price of $5 a month, all across every platform. Well, except for Discord. Discord, there's different levels, but it starts the gold membership at $5 a month. So this will help me be able to create better content, to be able to bring in more talent to create better content for you guys and shows, and also a lot more special guests as well.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be nice to be able to upgrade some infrastructure things. Websites don't pay for themselves. StreamYard doesn't pay for itself. People on the back end that do work. I don't even care to get a paycheck. I have a day job, pays me fine. I know it would be nice to be able to eventually have one, but there's other people that help us out. I'd like to throw a bone at.
Exactly.
They come along because they enjoy doing this and hanging out, and we've started to curate a nice staff of people. A lot of us have been around here for a while, and we haven't updated this on who's always on our website here, but those are people that are around, we're friends with, and they're contributing in their own way to all this. So we're just average people doing, complaining about average stuff. Well, other than maybe Fluffy, I don't know how average he kind of stands out, but
really,
he's a good guy. He's all right. We have fun. We have fun doing it. And the other thing is as far as Middle America stuff, I know Middle America people generally they don't really like being involved in the politics. The average person's kind of in that bell curve of, let me do my 9 to 5, let me come home and catch the footnotes. We're trying to kind of curate some of these things where, okay, everyone heard about this continuing resolution for however long, and people belly aching, and you never really got to the meat of it. Then once it was signed in stone, and the government tablets have been filed in the Congressional Ark of the Covenant, we decided that we were going to just dive in a little bit and see what all these snuck into this abomination. So that's the kind of stuff we're trying to look at. What are these things that are just kind of like everyone's kind of tired of, but maybe there's something underneath that we could probably explain a little bit. Maybe we could dig into, pull something out without being too like, but explain it. Hey, here's all the stuff that's in there. A lot of people don't like being into the weeds of how government works, and I could go off into tinfoil land about QAnon about every other moment if you let me, but Most people don't bother. They don't like that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of political fatigue out there. So if you're in that group, share this with people that are also kind of in the middle of that and are fatigued out and want to hear about these things. Abortion's not always a nice thing. That's why we did the thing off the top of the show with the stuff that was fairly recent. We got 65 people, at least on our counter here back in the StreamYard, which is great. So, share. A lot of our views don't come till afterward, but share with people. Let's get some feedback. Tell people, don't just watch it. Tell them, hey, leave a comment. Leave comments. If you're watching this and your friends have shared this, leave comments, because YouTube rewards comment section interaction. We'll get in there and we'll chat with you and respond. If you have an idea about something, you have a comment about something, leave there, or just about content in general. What are you trying to watch? What do you want? Are you tired of certain things?
Let us know.
More interested in certain things.
Exactly.
I'm a product guy by trade, and my bread and butter for my day job is hearing from people like you that are, taking in the product. What do you want? Tell us. Let us know.
Absolutely. And again, riseofmiddleamerica.com. That is Scrapjaw. You can find him at Scrapjaw. Anywhere you can find me, the real Roma _AK on X. We will definitely see you guys. We got one more episode for you guys this year, and we're going to do it up for you. And then after that, we won't see you to 2026. So make sure everybody is here next week.
Let's go.
All right. There might be some special guests. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But anyways, with that being said, I'm AK, your favorite guy. That is Scrapjaw. You guys have yourself a good night. Peace.